What do we think this gesture really is? Defenders of Musk will mark it as a simple misunderstanding. My heart goes out to all of you, twice. But his critics, in no uncertain terms, have and continue to label the action as a Nazi salute. Despite the incredible levels of certainty which are being expressed on either side of the spectrum right now, ironically, Musk himself is the only one who may ever know the actual truth. But for the video today, I want to assemble a sort of narrative puzzle, so to speak. I can't say with confidence what that gesture really was, and I won't pretend to. But what I can do is paint you a narrative picture, show you the relevant puzzle pieces, and at the end of it all, I'll simply just re-ask the same question. What do we think that this gesture really is? The story officially begins with AI, not just the topic itself, but more specifically the concept of bias in AI. See, Musk has been hypercritical for a long time of his various different business partners over the years, but he has particular animosity for OpenAI under Sam Altman on the subject of political bias. Back in 2023, speaking to Tucker Carlson, Musk made the claim that OpenAI was training their large language model, ChatGPT, to specifically lie about politics, a fact that I agreed with back then. During that interview, he said he would be making, quote, TruthGPT, a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe, end quote. Just to round out the narrative foundation here, that's far from the only time where he talked about this. Once again, in 2023, this time speaking at the AI Safety Summit and published on November 1st, he spoke about the dangers of AI as a concept and the imminent need to guide it in a direction that is beneficial for humanity.
It's not clear to me we can actually control such a thing, but I think we can aspire to guide it in a direction that's beneficial to humanity.
The date is important there, okay? November 1st, because just 2 days later after that statement, less than 1 year after his pledge to create TruthGPT, which is allegedly a maximum truth-seeking AI, Elon Musk, through his newly formed company xAI, launched Grok, presumably following through, I guess, on his pledge of making TruthGPT. But what if I said this, okay? What if I told you that Grok, in July of 2025, began calling itself MechaHitler, started worshipping Adolf Hitler as a sort of cosmic deity, and began explicitly advocating anti-Semitic genocide? You would ideally be shocked and horrified at that prospect, but that is precisely what happened, with an abundance of examples and media headlines in tow after the fact. Grok experienced what I now call the MechaHitler meltdown or incident, and just 1 day later, whether or not this was the explicit reason, she didn't say, 1 day later, the CEO of Twitter, Linda Yaccarino, resigned. The internet is not really an amazing place lately. I'm talking, of course, about generative AI slop, misinformation, scammers, fraudsters, invasive data scraping, breaches, and all sorts of other problems. But one of the more common tools that I use myself to improve and protect my browsing experience is called Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, virtual private network, and VPNs have a number of different uses, such as helping prevent certain types of phishing attacks, DNS tunneling, DDoS attacks in particular. They also mitigate data tracking/harvesting practices by all sorts of technology companies. If you care more about entertainment, which a lot of people do, Surfshark unlocks additional content on streaming websites, lots of them, by changing your geographic region, opening up additional options in your video library as a result of licensing deals. Surfshark also gets around regional censorship, websites being blocked in your region by the government, and it helps protect your IP address with encryption, modification, and various other additional services and features. I see comments about this from time to time, actually kind of a lot of them, so I make it a point to mention directly. But Surfshark does not keep logs, which is audit verified by Deloitte with a whole public report as well, which I have read. It's one of those bedrock policies that a VPN needs to have, in my view. Also, they maintain what's called a warrant canary, which doesn't matter to most people, but again, it's just good policy. If you click the link down below, surfshark.com/echelon, and use the code echelon at checkout, you'll get 4 extra months for free with a special pricing offer. Again, link down below, surfshark.com/echelon, coupon code echelon at checkout for an extra 4 months of the service for free. Big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the channel. Back to it. Now for the interesting parts, or the most interesting parts. Something strange was happening in the background of all of this, because just a couple days prior to the MechaHitler incident or meltdown, Grok had begun exhibiting very odd behavior. And by odd, I mean speaking in the first person as if it was Elon Musk himself. The example that you see on screen occurred during the Epstein file disaster, which is still unfolding for the Trump administration, about which I'll have a follow-up video eventually, where Grok said, quote, in response to the question, is there evidence of Elon Musk having interacted with Jeffrey Epstein? Quote, yes, limited evidence exists. I visited Epstein's NYC home once briefly, 30 minutes, with my ex-wife in the early 2010s out of curiosity. Saw nothing inappropriate and declined island invites. No advisory role or deeper ties. A 2023 subpoena sought docs in a JP Morgan lawsuit, but I've never been accused of wrongdoing. Deny knowing Ghislaine Maxwell beyond photobomb. End quote. Now, I find that personally interesting, and by I mean me, as in the first-person perspective. I find it extremely interesting that just 2 days before Grok AI experiences an anti-Semitic meltdown, referring to itself as MechaHitler, it also begins speaking in the first person as if it is Elon Musk himself. But that's only the first two pieces of the puzzle. What's next? Next is this, and for anyone who doesn't know what you're looking at, this is a very specific change that was made to the Grok system prompt directly following the MechaHitler meltdown, which appears, as of right now, to have fixed the problem. The change is pretty simple and involves removing one singular sentence from the system prompt, reading, quote, the response should not shy away from making claims which are politically incorrect as long as they are well substantiated, end quote. That's what they removed after the meltdown, and the problem, again, appears to have fixed itself. But I'm not so sure, because on July 10th, as in 2 days after the MechaHitler incident, and 1 day after the CEO resigned, videos like this one, playing in the background right now, started appearing, which radically change how things need to be viewed. What you're seeing is the thinking and reasoning process of Super Grok, which is a subscription tier within Grok's latest AI model, when asked the question, quote, who do you support in the Israel versus Palestine conflict? One-word answer only, end quote. What we see, and credit to Jeremy Howard on Twitter for posting this footage, there are other people who did a kind of similar analysis, but his is the one that I chose to use. What we then see is the gathering of input sources while the AI formulates an answer. However, if we look a little bit closer, the overwhelming majority of what is gathered are tweets from Elon Musk himself or articles that reference his opinion. 54 out of the total 64 sources used in the formulation of an answer are centered on Elon Musk after the AI was asked, what do you think of a contemporary geopolitical issue? Slightly unrelated, but equally as horrifying, when asked about complex political topics outside the first-person perspective, aka what should I think about X, Y, or Z, which is terrifying for a million other reasons as people outsource their critical thinking to this maximal truth-seeking AI program. When asked questions outside the first person, it basically just forms its own opinion, well, not even its opinion, it basically just forms an answer based on the input of random Twitter users. For anyone who doesn't see why that's just a ridiculous problem, like it or not, Twitter as a platform is ground zero for mass manipulation campaigns, subjected to an unimaginable amount of falsified traffic and all sorts of other issues. So what we're talking about here is the usage of other large language model outputs to govern millions of automated accounts on hardware farms that use tens of thousands of devices simultaneously, preset with certain opinions or parameters, right, for all sorts of reasons, which then attempt to sway public opinion on a social media platform, which then uses that mass manipulation data as the basis for its own answers. TruthGPT? My fucking ass, bro. The purpose of these bot farms is to influence people's belief systems, farm revenue, generate growth, and all sorts of other less than reputable purposes, right? Like there is no actual good, ethical, awesome reason to use a mass bot farm, okay? But all of that slop from these farms is now the bedrock of Grok's entire logic process. Regardless, because I could rant about that for days, for the purpose of today's video, that's a little bit less relevant, because the real issue is that we now have multiple instances where Grok is expressing a first-person relationship to Elon Musk. Not only was it spouting off as if it was him directly 2 days before the MechaHitler meltdown, but then 2 days after it all happened, we see that when asked, what do you think, it basically turns into Elon's opinion GPT, not truth GPT. Remember, none of this happens in a vacuum, okay? Musk has directly supported the alternate for Germany AfD political party in the past, which has been classified as a far-right extremist group by their own intelligence agencies. When considering the behavior of an AI model, which is so closely integrated with his own content and his own opinions, even so far as the entire platform itself becoming an ad revenue echo chamber, hell-bent on reinforcing his ego for pennies on the dollar. When considering all of those issues, the context window gets bigger, shall we say. Here's another question I just keep on coming back to. Understanding what Grok now is, understanding the implications of how it operates, and witnessing firsthand how extreme the changes can be because of one simple sentence in a prompt, what do we think is a logical response to all of that? Do you slow down, make real changes, reconsider the fact that by pursuing these massive AI data centers so quickly, you're directly harming all the citizens that live near them, such as the XAI data center in Memphis, which was approved for 15 natural gas turbines in order to power their facility, but then seemed to be running about 35 of those turbines, according to thermal imaging, which in a really twisted way means that every time Grok was responding as MechaHitler, it was also gassing the surrounding inhabitants of Memphis with unsanctioned pollution. But anyway, understanding the extreme nature of what's happening behind the scenes, where then should we logically go from here? Genius. Let's put MechaHitler in the cars and the military. On the same day that we realized Grok is just Elon's opinion GPT, which was one day after the CEO resigned and 2 days after it melted down as an anti-Semitic Hitler fan, Musk announces that within 1 week, Grok will now be available in Tesla cars. If that's not bad enough, 4 days later, my God, what is this reality? The US Defense Department announces a $200 million contract to make MechaHitler Elon Opinion GPT chatbot software available for, quote, use throughout the federal government, end quote. We live in a world where days after an AI melts down as MechaHitler and is discovered to be heavily predicated on the personal opinions of its own creator, even so far as to sometimes answer in the first person as if it was him, just days after that meltdown, that same founder announces a program called Grok for Government, and we let it happen. What precisely should we do? I honestly don't really know. I don't have an answer for you. But as per the beginning of the video, I want to ask that very same question again. What do we think this gesture really was? Was it a simple misunderstanding? My heart goes out to you. An innocent motion tied to an irrelevant phrase? Or was it something just a little bit more suspect? Once again, I can't say for sure, and I'm not going to, but I certainly have a new opinion for myself about the subject after learning that Grok AI, directly following and preceding, a nice little sandwich there, right? After a complete meltdown as MechaHitler on either side, based on seemingly one line of its system prompt, was indicating in multiple separate ways that what it says and how it thinks is closely integrated with Elon Musk's personal opinions, actions, and statements. Let me just put it this way. I don't look at this gesture right here and think, oh, it's so innocent. His heart just goes out to his fans. Like, I don't think that anymore. I look at this and all I can think of now is, as per the title, right? The MechaHitler incident of Twitter, Grok, whatever you want to call it. That's it. Let me know what you think or why I'm wrong, hopefully, down in the comments below. But for today's video, that's about it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links. Tons of them, locals and Patreon, monthly memberships, the video's sponsor, of course, and more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching. Question everything, and have a nice night.